What was your first gaming moment, video game moment? I know for me it was my dad and I sharing my Game Boy, my childhood Game Boy, which I don't have anymore. I wish I would, but I don't. We played Super Mario Land 2. I played Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. I also played Pokemon and stuff like that. But my first memory was with the Game Boy. And Game Boy's always been a part of my, love for video games. Or, I don't know if it's Game Boy as much as like handheld gaming, if I'm being honest with you. But there's just something so special about it. I got to share those moments with my dad on a regular basis, and they were just so special. And for you, I'm really curious, what was yours? Every once in a while, it's fun to look back and reflect on, gaming as we knew it as kids. I know that like nostalgia is like a huge thing that we all kind of deal with, but for me, I really enjoyed my time with the Game Boy Advance. That was where I really got involved in playing games a ton. And Game Boy as a whole, and all of the, flexible location gaming, which is something I talk about now, was just such a big thing for me. Now with gaming, we have a little bit different way of doing it, I suppose. I mean, the Switch reintroduced, I believe, that idea of being able to have that flexible location thing going on, which I think is great. I mean, I really, really have enjoyed using the Nintendo Switch for its life, and I'm excited to see what Nintendo has. It seems that Nintendo as a whole is really focusing more on the experience, and that's just like them. They've never been the power pusher. Well, it's been a while since they've been the power pushers, and for them to be focusing more on experience really is kind of cool. But looking back sometimes, as I said, just kind of gets you excited. And for me, I know that recently the Analog Pocket released new colors, and that was kind of fun. I looked into the Analog Pocket a little bit, but I'll be honest, the Analog Pocket itself and any of those kinds of things, I never really gave too much of, stock to, because I could emulate on something like Anbernic, the RG blank SP. It was great, and I have one, and it's fun, but there's something about like sliding that cartridge in. I have an SP with some Game Boy games. I know you guys can see this in the back of the Mod Retro, and I've talked about it a little bit, and I want to dive a little deeper into it. I've had it for over a month now. I've used it a good amount. I didn't use it as much as I thought I was going to, but to be honest, I don't think that I, really thought too much about it when I first got it. It's a really cool little handheld device. Now this thing, I'll tell you the three things it is and the one thing it isn't. This thing is very, very overbuilt. The outer casing is metal, as I've mentioned before. 2, the screen is very bright. And this screen, the last thing, kind of a big deal, is a 1-for-1 of the Game Boy Color. Just, of course, more vibrant and better lit, I would say. The actual device itself, the Chromatic Mod Retro, is a console. It is a video game console. It is not a Game Boy. It is not a Game Boy replica. It is a console, its own console that will have games releasing for it. They're releasing now when this thing becomes available in December. And more, I think it's more importantly stated, is it is capable of playing both Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. Now, what is the number one thing it is not? I already mentioned it's not a Game Boy replica. It is not an emulator. While you can get a cartridge that resembles that of a Game Boy cartridge, SD card in there, load a bunch of games on it, and you can, I guess, do that. This is not a emulator or an emulator. And so there are a tremendous amount of limitations that come with something like this. First off, people, I would say, are pretty critical of the screen size. It's tiny. It is very much so a smaller display size. And I, for one, would like the display size to be bigger, but I get it. This is a very, very close experience to that of which we, fell in love with back in the 90s. I know that I fell in love with gaming back in that time. Game Boy Advance SP had a bigger screen, but that's its own bag of tricks. And if Mod Retro was to come out, or a Chromatic was to come out with the Game Boy Advance version, that would be a really exciting thing. But I don't know what their plan is with all this stuff. I don't even know much about this whole thing other than what I've started to investigate on my own, and it's pretty exciting with this. Now, I want to be also very clear that like I don't want to sit here and recommend anything. That is going to be smoke. I don't want to sit here and recommend, oh, you should go out and get this, because I really think you should think about what you like. Playing Game Boy games in 2024 is not for everybody. I'll be the first to admit it. I played Link's Awakening, and I'm going through Link's Awakening right now. It is a little challenging. You can play it on the Switch, for goodness sakes, with on-off and save states. You don't have to go through some of the... Now, Link's Awakening DX, I will say you can save whenever you want. You just press start, select A and B, and you can save and quit, which is nice. But I'll be honest, like, it is more challenging playing a Pokemon game. First gen Pokemon, even second gen Pokemon with Gold, Silver, and Crystal, like, it is not a easy experience. There were, I tell you, the quality of life improvements they made with like Fire Red, Leaf Green, stuff like that, leaps and bounds when it comes to an actual gaming experience. Far more fun, and I have those on the Game Boy Advance SP, but it's just not for the faint of heart. I feel like where the Mod Retro Chromatic does kind of shine is that they're releasing games for this device, like the own games. Now these games are available, I was looking, they're just indie games that they're releasing in cartridge form, and you can slide these. It's cartridge that you absolutely have to put the cartridge in, click it, and then you turn it on. Now there's not going to be a Nintendo logo because this is not a Nintendo device. This is not trying to be a Nintendo device. This is its own console that can play older cartridges because it has the ability to do so. And for that, you know, I definitely like it. Now this itself is a prototype. I don't have the actual version of it. And I was actually very surprised that they were willing to give me my own prototype to use. I mean, who am I? I'm just some dad on the internet who likes older games. One thing that's really cool about this is it has USB-C. Now with USB-C, I can actually play the games and stream the games, which I will be doing once the full released games are out. I only have demo versions of the games, and I don't want to play the demos, I want to play the full ones, and I do plan on playing some of my favorites, or some that you might be interested in, over on Twitch. I stream every day during the week, except for Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, and so if you would like to join, I don't stream, that would be like a special event to stream this thing. I stream, you know, other stuff on the Steam Deck or on the Asus ROG Ally until I decide whether or not I'm keeping that, or PC, which I have a gaming PC laptop, which I've been using. But that's another conversation for another time. I really have been enjoying my time using this because it kind of gave me a little like refresher, like where gaming came from. And I know that the retro scene is nothing new. Like people still play retro games and I can emulate, but there's something kind of special about just having a device that is a dumb device. I feel like a lot of the smart devices out there, or just being able to connect to the internet, ends up getting into kind of a situation where you're like, for me, I get easily distracted. And so to be able to just get into a game, it's not connected to anything, and it's just like, oh, I only have Pokemon Crystal on me, or I only have Link's Awakening on me, like, that's what I'm gonna play. I try to keep it in my pocket, and so like I can take it out and use it while I'm standing in line for a brief moment or whatever. It's nice, and it reminds me of what I used to do as a kid. And I think that for me, it's helping break some of the bad habits I've developed over the past couple of decades with technology, like just being on my phone incessantly or something like that, which, you know, for me, I like that. I like to be able to go back and just get a little more analog. And I know that like Discord's great. I love my Discord, but I was gonna say the Steam Deck is like the least analog because it's all digital, and same with the ROG Ally and stuff like that. I get it. What I appreciate about those devices, even though they're not analog, so to speak, and really, I mean, the analog discussion is its own thing, but like what I like about them specifically is if I'm going to be forced in a direction of digital, like they do it best. I strongly believe that they do it best, honestly. Steam does it best. I should be more clear. think that, you know, PC gaming or PlayStation gaming or Xbox or whatever you want to do is like, oh, this one's gonna kill the other. Like, whatever, dude. Like, I'm not really into that game anymore. But I will say that when it comes to the way that I've been learning about different game management and stuff like that, if I am not going to be able to stay as analog as I want to, and you know, I know that PlayStation and Xbox have physical titles, but how long is that going to last, right? We see that the PlayStation Pro released without. You can purchase a disc drive, but they certainly aren't promoting that style of gaming. They aren't promoting that lifestyle of buying discs. You know, just purchase it in the digital place and then just keep it on here with a 2 terabyte internal storage. I mean, granted, you have to install the full game when you get the disc. It just ends up becoming more cumbersome. And so if all digital is the future, I'd rather just get ahead of the curve when it comes to the future of gaming. I mean, some of my favorite games that I've played recently released digital first and then ended up releasing physically on the Nintendo Switch as well as PlayStation and Xbox, like for instance Sea of Stars, really enjoying it. But again, I'm playing it on the Steam Deck. I have it for the Switch, haven't played it for the Switch, but I'm playing it on the Steam Deck because I just love that thing. And yes, I have purchased and got a Steam Deck again, and I'm really, really enjoying it. As far as the analog thing, I think that my time with the Chromatic, which I think that's what, I always want to say it's the Mod Retro, but it's the Chromatic, has been really nice as a, it's like just like that good old fashioned watching, like, old school episodes of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles while eating pizza and drinking pop. Like, it's that feeling, right? That, like, you're just getting a little dose of what used to be. And I don't think it's going to change the world. I certainly don't think that the, you know, Chromatic's going to change the world. It's not. And it's not meant to. I think what it's meant to do, honestly, is just kind of remind you, hey, remember what it used to be like? The good and the bad. Because I'll tell you right now, Pokemon Yellow, maybe one of like the biggest awesome games that we remember. I'm playing through it somewhat right now, and it's kind of a chug. It's kind of a chug. Like, I'm having a hard time getting through it. It's not as exciting or as fun than some of the Game Boy Advance versions that were re-released. Now, Yellow wasn't re-released, but you know, Fire Red, Leaf Green, stuff like that. Sapphire Ruby, some of my favorites. Going back in time to play games or hitting some of the old nostalgia, I think that, you know, Nintendo, obviously, they really lean into that hard with their Nintendo Switch Online service, or just remaking older games that we've really grown to love, like Metroid Prime Remaster or Link's Awakening Remaster. Some of these games that, like, were big deals to a lot of us back in the day. And I love remasters and remakes. I think they're great. I mean, I think they're a lot of fun. But when it comes to this little fun past month of experiencing the older way of playing games that way on newer-ish hardware, I know there's a name for this. FPG, something like that. I don't remember the exact name for it. But when it comes to my, like, actual experience and like review of this device itself, it's well built. It has the link cable ability, so you can play linked mode with other people. I don't have other people to play with because, one, I don't know anyone else who has this, but two, I don't know anyone else who has the games that I need to play those games with, or is even wanting to play those games right now. But it has the link cable capabilities, and it's got a rechargeable battery. Cool. I mean, you could technically do that with a Game Boy too. It is just what used to be, except made in 2024 with no really extra bells and whistles. And I think that that's nice. I mean, even as a volume rocker, for goodness sake. Like, that is really, really nice. If it's something you're interested in, you can certainly go and check it out. And check out the, you know, Chromatic and see if it's even something. It's priced at $200 and it ships with Tetris. I think there's 5 or 6 other colors, or 6 colors total, or something like that. You can also get matching old school COS like headphones with it, which is kind of cool. But I want to be clear. I'm not sitting here saying go buy it, right? I am also not sitting here saying don't buy it. I just am showcasing, like, a fun toy that exists This will not replace my Steam Deck, certainly won't. This will not replace my Nintendo Switch. This will not replace anything in my gaming hobby. It's simply an addition, and a welcomed one at that. I'm not using it as much as I thought I would, but I'm also using it more than I expected. At the same time, I thought I'd like sit down and play it for hours on end. I'm not doing that. I didn't think that I would be jonesing to play it as much as I do. That is kind of cool, right? I think that is the perfect balance in between the two. But yeah, I don't know. Is this even something that you're into? I mean, something that's really cool is like if I open up the battery and you hear this, that's metal. That's cool, right? Like, I like that. I like that. It is all metal, and it has little things that you can put, like, you can hang little dangly things that you used to do back on your mechanical pencils. I don't know if you ever did that. I did that back in grade school. That was a thing we did a lot. I had a lot of different boba shops that sold those tiny little things you could hang on your keychain, and I put them on things because I wanted to be cool. I wasn't cool. Not at all. Still not cool. But if you want to play video games with me online, or just hang out with a really rad community of deck daddies, go ahead and check out the twitch.tv/JDXCoffee. I'm over there Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and sometimes Saturday. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna finish my coffee and enjoy the rest of my day. Hopefully you do too. I'm gonna see if we can do another 30-day cup challenge. Enjoyed it in November last year. Let's do it this time. If you like the cups, sweet. If you don't like the cups, maybe now's your time to say sayonara. It won't affect me. Okay, cool. See ya. Bye. Oh, play more and be kind.